Hello everyone, welcome to the Looney Bin. My name is Looney, and today I want to make this video because I want to discuss something that I think a lot of people in the gaming community, Nintendo community as well, that I feel like it needs to be discussed somewhat, right? And that is, why does Nintendo, hide or like don't reveal like which studio is making specific games, specifically for like their IPs or you know a second party type of Nintendo game. And a lot of people always want to know which developer, what company is making these games, because you know for a long time now, a lot of people decide, certain games should be made by certain developers, and and there's more knowledge about developers now than there ever was. And whenever people know about certain developers and what kind of games they have made, they tend to lean towards an opinion that can be a little bit unfair. Now, granted, there's a lot of, usually if there's a consistent problem with the developer and how they develop the certain games, people will get more annoyed, more, frustrated, and not necessarily like the company that is making like maybe their favorite IP, right? From Nintendo. And frankly, I can understand that aspect. I can understand why, like, let's say, their favorite Kirby game is being made by someone like Mercury Stream. Mercury Stream, right? Like, if you heard that, Mercury Stream is making a new Kirby game, people who don't necessarily like Mercury Stream, the developer, may be off put by the game immediately. Right? All of a sudden, they instead of before like getting the game or anything like that, they just automatically like disappointed. They hate it. I'm like, why is Mercury Stream making a goddamn Kirby game? That kind of stuff. I can understand there if there's like a certain, where it's consistent with like, anytime you play a Mercury Stream game, you don't like a certain aspect that they do. You don't like how they develop games. You don't like how they remaster games. How you don't like, the added like mechanics and like their style of developing games. That kind of stuff. And I understand that, like, if it's consistent like that and you consistently don't appreciate or like games made by Mercury Stream, you will not like anything that Mercury Stream probably develops with like a Nintendo's IP, like one of their famous IPs, right? But I think it's also a type of argument, a type of thing where it's just like, is it really that important? Like, I understand, like, if the company, like, let's say, for example, Activision develop a Nintendo IP game, right? And we know all the goddamn crap that Activision has been doing behind the scenes with all the SA, the assault charges and all that stuff, and like the bad toxic environment that Activision has created for years. Like, we know about all that behind the scenes stuff now, and you might be awful because you like myself included, do not condone any of those acts, and those are vile acts that should never ever be done in any sort of working environment, right? I fully understand that, and like, I try very much to. I mean, to be fair, I don't play that much Activision games anyway. I only play one. Blizzard, I played Overwatch, but that's usually just because it's the only online multiplayer games I actually am decent in, right? But yeah, that kind of stuff, I hate it, I dislike it, and there's a lot of people who would not touch a company because of those, things that they were accused of, things that they allegedly did, and I understand that process. But when it comes to like, automatically hating something because of a company like who may not even have like, those type of controversies, but you don't like the development style, you don't like the type of mechanics or the type of writing or, what they do to video games, I feel like, is a little bit, you're thinking, you at least give it a shot, It's like you're making an opinion on something before you even try something. Right? And I understand that Nintendo IP are like very, very valued in the gaming community because of just how amazing they are, just how important they are, and you don't want your favorite Nintendo IP to be, created by a company that you dislike, that you hate. So that's literally why Nintendo tries very much to hide who is developing these type of games. They don't really tell you who's developing them until, either the game comes out or the game is close to being released, that they reveal who is working on it, or someone goes into like the source, not the source code, there's a word for it, a data mine, a game, and they reveal who is making these games, or like an official statement is comes out about it, right? And that's why they don't do it, because they know immediately that if they did say, like, Mercury Stream is working on a Kirby game, people will be upset already. Now, the reason why I'm also bringing this up, making this video in general, is because there is a, new Nintendo IP, or not a new Nintendo IP, but there's a new game coming out, and apparently Bloober Team, right, is creating this game based off on Nintendo IP, right? We don't know, I don't think we know exactly what this game is. But immediately people, because Bloober has had some weird, there isn't really much like, that kind of controversy surrounding them. But it's like, a lot of people don't like Bloober because a lot of them did not like, some of the things that they touched, right? And people immediately started getting upset, that they, oh my God, I can't believe Bloober's making this, making Nintendo IP. Oh God, this game is going to suck. Oh my God, your judgment is based on just the fact that you know who the developer is. Is there consistency of like Bloober being really bad? That's up to each and every individual, and I think it will depend on how you feel about a certain developer. But I think that no matter what kind of developer or how you may dislike it, at least give the game a chance, right? Form your opinion on the game itself, right? If you see something that's consistent with the development team that they do all the time and you dislike, then I can understand the argument. I can understand why you didn't want them to touch this Nintendo IP, and you didn't want them to make this game because you see a pattern and it's constantly the same thing and you heavily dislike it. I get that, right? And at the same time, it's like, at least give the game a shot. Who knows? Maybe you might actually enjoy it. Maybe you might dislike a portion of it, but overall you think that the game was really well done. And, maybe it's not all the way, Bloober's fault, right? Like the Bloober team's fault or something like that, right? So I think what we should do as gamers, as video game fans, is that we shouldn't really, judge a game based on like whoever's developing it, right? Unless it's like something like a video game company that's like very controversial in a lot of things that they did that really was vile, and they haven't learned, and they just people are still using the company, or using them to develop games and stuff like that. Like anything like really controversial that's like literally criminal border, or like criminal wise, I think that there's a certain understanding in that regard. But when it's just about like the style of developing, I think that's where like you have to be a little bit less judgmental and try to experience the game and then form your opinion based on that game, not make comparison to like other games that the developing studio has done. It just make an opinion off of that one singular game. You may dislike like something regarding it, but at the end of the day, if you really enjoy the game, then you enjoy the game. You don't have to dislike the game, because a certain developer is creating it. And that's one of the major reasons why Nintendo, doesn't reveal who is making these games, because they seem to know, the negative, reaction that they might get if they announce who's developing this team, right? Like Nintendo as a company, they don't like necessarily care like which company is developing it, that doesn't that people don't like because of like the developmental style, or like how they develop games and stuff, right? They do care if it's like a video game company's like controversial or something like that. Like they wouldn't want to work with them, like and trust them with like certain Nintendo IP, at least from what my understanding. Although who knows, maybe they did work with a company who had controversial stuff happen, right? But I think the point is that we shouldn't judge a video game or a company working with another company until the game comes out and you experience the game yourself. Then you can make then you can form an opinion based on like maybe you saw something that you constantly see with the developer doing that you don't dislike. At the end of the day, Nintendo will not reveal like who is making these games because of this because of all this not contribute because of all this negative reaction from just naming the studio who's working on it, right? And that's essentially why Nintendo doesn't do it. And I think it's fair for them to not reveal it. I understand the other end where it's like, well, we should know, otherwise why am I going to buy a game by a developer that I dislike heavily, right? I wouldn't want to buy a game like that. I don't care how much I love the IP. This team is developing it, and I don't like this team. I don't like this development team, and it's just like, I don't want to play a game, no matter how much I love this Nintendo IP that they're using, or legally allowed to make a game from. Right? I understand that, but I think at the end of the day, I think developers can grow, development teams can definitely change, and I think we at least should, give them opportunities and chances to see if they do improve. And who knows, maybe they do. It doesn't hurt to at least play the game before making a opinion on it just based on the development team. So yeah, I just wanted to make this video because I did see that it was a type of discussion that people are having. People talking about it. Like I said, I understand both sides, but I think at the end of the day, we should still judge a game based on after we play, not knowing who the developer is of that game. Beforehand, before we even get our hands on it. So thank you so much for watching this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments what you think. Subscribe to the channel, to watch more of my content. Like the video, and I'll see you guys next time. All right, bye bye everyone. Happy Nintendo gaming.